Former Senator Norm Coleman is sharing a message of strength and awareness during his second battle with cancer.
Last night at 10, he optimistically explained how his story reached beyond his own fight.
When I first found out that I had it, I was pretty devastated. That was a shock, but I quickly kind of pulled that together. But as I kind of went through this, it kind of opened up kind of another layer about how pervasive this is, about how many cancer survivors are out there, how many families are impacted. And I hope it's helpful to say, hey, you're not alone.
3.5 years ago, he underwent chemo, radiation, and surgery to kill the cancer in his tonsils and neck. Now, to fight stage 4 metastatic lung cancer, Coleman is undergoing chemo and radiation 5 days a week for 5 weeks at the Mayo Clinic in Rochester. He told us his cancer is caused by the HPV virus. During our conversation, Coleman told me he is now encouraging people to look in the HPV vaccine. Susan Elizabeth Littlefield is here. And Susan, I'm so glad we're doing this story because there are so many misconceptions, I think, about HPV.
There really are, Frank. First and foremost, HPV is a virus that can be transmitted in many different ways. It can be an STD, but it can also be spread from kissing or any skin-to-skin contact. Most people over 26 have HPV, but for most, it's harmless. In a small percentage of people, it leads to cancer. It could be deadly, and it can be prevented.
When Norm Coleman sat down with Frank Vassalero to talk about his cancer journey, he brought up an unexpected topic.
Cancer that I have is actually caused by a virus. Okay, there are vaccination. You can get a vaccination to prevent you from getting the HPV virus today.
The former senator's original throat cancer came from the HPV virus. He's now an advocate for the vaccine, which thrills Dr. Frank Rame.
And that's what the wonderful opportunity that Senator Coleman has given us, because he's pointing out that head and neck cancers are preventable by this vaccine too, which are not associated with sexual intercourse.
You may have seen the commercials. The HPV virus is mostly known as an STD that can cause cervical cancer in women, but it can also be transmitted from skin-to-skin contact or through kissing, and it can be prevented with a 3-part vaccine.
And so, as an infectious disease specialist, is it frustrating that more people aren't getting this vaccine?
We got a vaccine that prevents cancer, and only half the people who need it get it. Drives you nuts.
The vaccine is recommended for 11 and 12-year-old boys and girls. Dr. Rame says only about 50% of parents opt in.
Parents are reluctant to acknowledge that their kids are going to have sex.
They don't want to think about it.
They don't like to think about it.
But he says something so much more difficult could await.
The next generation of Americans shouldn't have to worry about, having, this kind of cancer.
Now, the vaccine is recommended for 11-year-olds all the way through people who are 26. But Dr. Rame says it's not a bad idea for anyone of any age to consider the vaccine, Frank.
He's so plain-spoken, makes it so clear.
He really does. He says it's nuts, he says.
How are we doing as a state? How's Minnesota doing when it comes to getting the vaccine now?
Just over the average. So just over 50% of people choose to have their children vaccinated. So about half the people who could don't here.
Well, our doctor explained it to us, our pediatrician, years ago, and we were like, well, of course, we want to do it. So.
Yeah, if you really think of it as a cancer thing, and as we said, it's not just an STD thing.
Yeah, and the senator is certainly pushing it now, too.
He really is.
For good reason, so thank you.
I love that he's doing that.
We have my story with Senator Coleman on WCCO.com. I want to let you know you'll also find other interesting topics that we covered that were not on the TV piece, like he talks about the current political climate, as well as his role in the relationship between the United States and Saudi Arabia.